Hey everybody, this is Bill. Welcome to the Color and Pageantry, where we're covering college football today. Before we get to our top 25, let's take a look at what happened around the college football landscape last weekend. We had some great games. Some teams really rose up and showed themselves. Some others kind of faltered. So let's take a look at it, starting with seeing who fell out of our top 25 and who some of the teams are that we like that are licking their chops to get in it. So let's take a look at it. Now, we had 4 teams lose and get knocked out of our top 25 this week. The big one was Michigan State, who went out to Washington and got clocked. The final score wasn't indicative of how badly they were beat by Washington. Kansas State really looking good, but man, they ran into a buzzsaw with Tulane. They should have seen what happened to OU last year with Tulane, but they just couldn't get anything going on offense, so they lost the ball game. Now, Mississippi State's a team we really like. I mean, their schedule's extremely tough, but they went out to LSU, and, man, LSU's looking pretty good under Brian Kelly. I mean, they got Mississippi State pretty strongly there, pulled away in the second half and got that game won on the Bayou there. And then the Florida Gators, who were barely in it, dropped out. Boy, they escaped a home game against South Florida. Now, South Florida, they look kind of improved under Jeff Scott. I'm a little surprised by that. But, man, did they could have won the ball game. Florida just escaped, and Anthony Richardson, another subpar performance. But you're going to have your ups and downs with him. He's got a lot of potential down the road. We'll see how he develops. But those are the 4 teams that are out of the top 25. Michigan State, Kansas State, Mississippi State, and the Florida Gators. Now, among the teams that are looking to get back in the top 25 or looking to get in there for the first time, of course, we have Michigan State and Florida, 2 teams we just talked about. We've been impressed with Washington State. That was a big win at Wisconsin they had. We got our eye on them. Oregon State, they got by Fresno State. They look pretty strong. North Carolina, that win against Appalachian State is looking good, and Appalachian State's another team in our group here. Iowa State, Cincinnati, Syracuse is looking sharp under Dino Babers. We wondered if they might have a bounce back here. They had a veteran team coming in with the All-America running back. They look pretty sharp. Maryland's in this group. They're at Michigan this week. We'll see how that goes. Again, LSU, who we mentioned, Texas Christian, and the Kansas Jayhawks. My goodness, they're at 3-0 under Lance Leipold. Wow, that's impressive. Mississippi State and Tulane are 2 others. So let's look at who's hot. Let's start with Penn State. They went down to the Plains and put a thumping on the Auburn Tigers on their own home field. So after surviving that road opener at Purdue, the Lions are positioning themselves to take a run. Now, Washington, the Huskies, showed great growth in the short time Kalen DeBoer has been at the helm, and they blasted visiting Michigan State. Now, the Huskies have got some talent, and they're already exceeding expectations. So if they can get all that together, they could be a problem out there in the Pac-12. Now, Lance Leipold has Kansas undefeated. They beat Athlon preseason top 25 Houston soundly on the road last week. Now, this is no small feat to get the Jayhawks to this point, and we expect Leipold, who has Nebraska connections, to hear from Trev Alberts and the Cornhuskers in short order. And let's don't forget Deion Sanders. That man, primetime, he's about to get paid. More on that in a minute. Now, who's not hot? Let's start with Georgia Tech. Now, originally, we liked what we saw from Jeff Collins in Atlanta, but the trend has turned negative, and after a blowout loss to Clemson and being shut out at home by Ole Miss last weekend, look for the Jackets to enter the Deion Sanders race soon. I think prime time could do some big-time damage in Atlanta. Well, Auburn might want a word with that. The Tigers got bombed at home by Penn State, the largest home loss since Nebraska. Remember those guys? They went in there and destroyed Auburn 41-7 in 1982. So Brian Harsin is on limited time on the Plains, and Auburn's got an interesting situation there. You know, a lot of politics in the background at Auburn, so whoever they get for the coach, that's going to be an interesting situation to keep our eyes on, and we'll do just that. Arizona State might want to get in on this Deion Sanders situation as well. The Devils lost a home game to Eastern Washington, and that turned out to be an embarrassing nail in the coffin for embattled head coach Herm Edwards, who has been dismissed. Now, I've always thought, along with Missouri, Arizona State is a sleeping giant. Somebody could come out there and really get that thing turned around out there. So I'm interested to see who they're going to be looking at. for their next head coach. But the season looks lost for the Sun Devils already. All right, let's take a look at our top 25 now. And at 20th, we have Baylor. They've already got that loss at BYU. Florida State comes in at 21st. The Seminoles are off to a hot start. Minnesota, they look very strong. We're going to find out about them. They got Michigan State this week. There's Brigham Young, one big win, one big loss. And Texas A&M and Miami, who played a game out there in Aggie land with the Aggies holding Miami to a bunch of field goals. None of them look really good, though, like we had thought that they might. Now, coming in at 15 through 20, we got Oregon. We thought they were not so good after the Georgia game, but as it turns out, they still might be pretty good. Because, boy, howdy did they put it on Brigham Young. I know Brigham Young had some injuries, but that was a physical game Oregon played, and they looked really sharp. We've talked about Washington. What an impressive win against Michigan State. Texas, Utah, and Wake Forest round out that group. Wake Forest got a big one with Clemson coming up. Now, Oklahoma State comes in at 11. They're in a position to make some noise. We're going to keep our eyes on them. Tennessee hosts Florida this week. That's a big game. Mississippi looking really good. We talked about Penn State. What a big win at Auburn. They've already gotten by Purdue. They could be in position to make some good things happen for themselves. Now, Oklahoma had a big win at Nebraska. We recognize Nebraska has fallen in complete shambles here as the season started, so we don't really know what to make of that, but Oklahoma looked good in every facet of the game, better than we thought they might at this point, so we've got the Sooners 6th. North Carolina State is there, Clemson, Kentucky looking really good, and Arkansas, who had to scramble to come from behind to win against Missouri State, but Arkansas' schedule is loaded with teams, so we'll know about them. They got A&M this weekend. In our top 5, Georgia, very impressive, really looked strong. Goodness gracious, do they look good. Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, and Southern Cal. We know they've got some line of scrimmage issues, but offensively they're getting it done, and they're making plays on the defensive side of the ball. So we're going to be interested to see how they do as they move along. But right now, they're looking good. So there's our top 25, folks. Let us know what you think about it. We'd like to hear from you. You can certainly leave us some comments on what we missed. If anybody should be in there that we don't have, if you think the order should be different, that'd be great. Love to hear from you. You can also follow us on Facebook at The Color and Pageantry. We do invite you to like the video and subscribe to our page. But more importantly, we want to thank you all for watching. Another big weekend of college football is coming up. They're all great. We can't wait. We can't look forward to it enough. And game day is going to be at Florida, Tennessee. Probably thought they should have been at Kansas, Duke, because, how many opportunities do you get to go to a game like that with a bunch of basketball schools? But, hey, they're at Florida, Tennessee. What can we do? But we'll watch the weekend. Going to be some upsets just like last week. I can promise you that. So don't turn away for a moment. You might miss something. See you next week.